Good evening. Welcome to Getting Started with Canvas for Teachers, going over announcements and calendar. This is Pam Batchelor from the Home Base Digital Teaching and Learning Division at NCDPI. And with me tonight, I have a great panel of helpers and Canvas experts. So with me tonight, we have Christy Barham, who is our Strategic Customer Success Manager for Instructor and Canvas Queen for North Carolina. And we also have a couple of my coworkers from Digital Teaching and Learning, Jill Darrow.
Hi, this is Jill Darrow. I'm a Southeast consultant for Digital Teaching and Learning, and I also coordinate professional learning for the Digital Learning Initiative. Great to be with you tonight.
And we also have Kathy Parker.
Hey everybody, I am the Sand Hills Regional Consultant, and I also support school library media for the state. It's good to be here tonight with you.
All right, and so we're going to start off with just a couple of quick sound check and mic check. So we are going to start with, can you see the presenter screen? So if everyone would take a second to respond to that. And leave this open for about 5 more seconds. All right, and then one more question. Can you hear us? Let's hope so. All right, wonderful. Looks like everyone can see and everyone can hear. So we have in the chat put the link to the tonight's presentation. Christy has put a lot of links into this presentation, so you're going to want to make sure you have it open on a second tab or on a minimized screen somewhere. If you have 2 monitors, you can open up both of them. But you're going to want the presentation, and if you can't use the bit.ly or you're having trouble, if you go in the handout section of the GoToWebinar, you'll see a PDF copy of tonight's presentation. Tonight's session is being recorded. You will get an email following the session with your CEU certificate, as well as a link to the recording within 5 business days, right? So Christy has already got the CEU question slide up. So I'm just going to go ahead and explain that tonight's webinar, first signing in your live participation, which means you're using the link that GoToWebinar sent you when you registered. You will get 1 hour of credit or 0.1 CEU. We do recommend that these credits are for digital learning competency credit. However, final approval is up to your local school or your district process. You might have to provide a written justification or an artifact, maybe a screenshot of something awesome you're going to do in your Canvas course after this. And like I said, be on the lookout for that email from me, Pam Batchelor. About 5 business days, I will have your CEU certificate as well as a copy of the presentation and a link to the recording, so that way you can review it and go through any of the topics that Christy's going to go through tonight. One last note, we did do this webinar earlier today at 4 o'clock. You can only receive credit for 1 webinar on the same topic. So if you joined us earlier and you're joining us again tonight, you're only going to get 1 certificate when you get that email from me. There is a questions feature in GoToWebinar. If you have any questions throughout the night, please use that question feature. And both Jill and Kathy and myself, we will be happy to take questions and relay those to Christy throughout the night if we need to as well. So please use that question feature because it keeps track of who's asked which questions for us, and it helps us to make sure we can get back to folks if needed. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to Christy.
Great, thank you, Pam. So tonight we are going to talk about I'm using announcements and calendar, and specifically just how to get started. So this is really good for people who have never used Canvas at all. It's good for others too to consider how you can use calendar and announcements if you're not previously doing so, or maybe some ideas to help enhance your usage if you are using them. But it's really good for teachers who are just getting started, because these are two ways that you can jump right into Canvas and start using it to benefit your students. But we do have the link to the full descriptions of all of the webinars throughout the year, because we're going to do 10. As Pam mentioned, with the registration links, also a printable calendar would be really easy for you to print out and keep somewhere. And just a reminder that next month's webinar is going to be on modules, course navigation, and discussion, and actually on 2 separate days. We had to separate them next month. Couldn't do both times on the same day. So September 18th will be the 7 p.m. session. September 25th will be the 4 p.m. And again, just like this time, they're going to be the same. It'll be the same content, just 2 different opportunities for you, whatever fits your schedule best. Tonight, we're going to talk just real briefly about blended learning, and then if you have 2 screens or 2 devices, you're welcome to follow along. I will try to go slowly, but do know that you have the recording. That's one of the benefits of having a recording, is that you can go back and rewatch and pause and practice these things at your own pace if I'm going a little too fast for you to follow, and or you don't have another screen that you can be practicing on during the webinar. But during this webinar, we'll talk about creating announcements, and I will demo that for you. Also, we'll talk about using the course calendar and how to add all of these individual items to a course calendar, and then definitely have some time for Q&A. Although you're welcome to ask questions throughout the session, and I certainly can pause to answer those at any time. If at any point I am going too fast, please do let me know, or let them know in the question section, so that I can slow down or back up and readjust. So one of the things that I'm always excited to talk about is just how Canvas can be used for blended learning. We know that teachers design blended learning experiences. These are not things that are, automated. You are still in control. You know your students. You know your students' needs. You know your students' interests, your preferences, their likes. But we also know that students are, highly motivated and engaged sometimes by working digitally, as well as it helps increase efficiency. And there are some things that we can do in a digital world that aren't possible. Some of the collaboration tools, and obviously multimedia, things like that we're not always able to do in a paper environment. So blended learning really just takes the best of that digital content and those activities with the best practices that you have for your face-to-face content and activities, your paper content and activities, and just combines them. And Canvas is a great platform for that, for you to design as the teacher that blended learning experience. And blended learning empowers your students by giving them, again, just like with this recording of this presentation, if I'm going too fast, when you watch the recording, you can pause, rewind, fast forward, and watch at your own pace to help you create announcements and create calendar events and assignments. And so can your students if you're able to provide instructional resources. I know a lot of people, a lot of math teachers especially, will include video notes where they work a problem, so students have access to that when they're completing homework at night. So that's empowering students and letting them have those resources just when they need them. So in a blended learning environment within Canvas, that's one opportunity to empower students, as well as when you give students the tools that they need to be successful in terms of scheduling, planning out, and organizing the work that they have to do. Our students are so overscheduled, and I have children, mine have been overscheduled as well, but giving them calendars and to-do lists and things that allow them to set up their own notifications and reminders digitally, using that, especially the phone in their pocket, because so many of our students, from young grades, 4th grade and up and probably younger, are carrying phones, but giving them that opportunity to have those calendars, those reminders, those to-do lists right in their pocket pretty much at all times just really is empowering. And then I also speak to Canvas very often as a advocate for parental access, because I not only have been a student and teacher and admin in Canvas, but I'm also a parent, and I know how it helps me and has helped me help my children be more successful. So by having the digital resources available in Canvas, by having those reminders, by being able to see those grades, being able to see missing activities, that's engaged me so that hopefully, you know, my students or my children's teachers see me as a partner. Each month, we try to feature a Canvas teacher from across the state in the home-based bulletin. If you know someone who would be a great feature, please let us know. And or if you think that you might want to be featured because something you do, then please also let us know that. When I talk about blended learning, I really like to talk about Mary from Pitt County. Mary's a 6th grade language arts teacher, and she specifically says, you know, that's what she does, is she uses Canvas for blended learning. And so you can have access to the story and read the whole thing. But one thing that Mary does is she has a weekly agenda for her students. And this is just a snapshot of a couple days. But you can see that in Canvas, she has the day, and then she has what they're doing in class and what they're doing outside of class or from homework. This is super helpful for her kids. When they come in, they know exactly what they're doing as a bell ringer. If there are any links, then she can just link those things right there. Students already have access to Canvas via NC EdCloud. So they just go into Canvas, they go into that course, and they can click all of the links that she needs for them to access for that day without having to have a bit.ly or a long URL or trying to navigate them through, you know, different websites where they're maybe even Googling, trying to find the site. So she can link those right there for them, although not everything that she's included on this agenda is going to be a Canvas activity, and they're making foldables. But they have AR time, but she's reminding them or giving them an overview of the day. So again, empowering them if they're not in class, empowering them and helping them to just see, you know, what to expect and anticipate for the day or for the week, so they can help manage their workload, as well as all of that homework. So we're going to talk today about using Canvas announcements as an agenda, as that is one of the ways that I think it's really easy for you to get started. And I'm going to go into this course, which I have a little bit of content from because we did play with it in an earlier session. So you're going to see an announcement here already, but we're going to make one of our own. This is the modules view if you haven't been in Canvas before. This is a modules view, but I'm going to show you a couple, or the modules homepage. I'm going to show you a couple other options for homepages as well. And definitely we'll talk about homepages more throughout the next 10 months on our sessions. But in this course, really easy to create an announcement. So in any course that you have, if you have your own Canvas course, you probably already have your PowerSchool generated courses. Actually, let's pause for a second. Pam, can we do the poll asking how many of our users have district provided Canvas accounts versus how many might have a free teacher account?
Absolutely, yes. I was getting ready to see if you wanted to pause and ask that. So perfect timing.
Yeah.
So last time we were asking about if you had access to the paid version, and you would know because most of the time it's red. However, in Wake County, since Wake County has 2 instances, I believe the staff version of Wake County is orange, and I think the student one is blue. Is that right, Christy? I know their icons are different colors, but for most of the state, it's red. So if you have access to that red Canvas icon, then you have the paid version.
Yeah. And the blue version is generally the DPI version. So everybody should have access to that. Well, should see that. Doesn't mean you have access. It may be if you click on blue, it might say does not have an account for this user, and that's because you're not enrolled in any professional development courses through DPI. However, if you do have access to the red Canvas icon, and that for sure is your Canvas instance that your district or school provides. So what do those results look like, Pam? Do the majority have a connection to PowerSchool through their?
So we have 65% that say yes and 2% that said no. And 33% that said they weren't quite sure.
Okay. So another good indication is if you do get your courses generated from PowerSchool automatically loaded into Canvas, then that does mean your district or school pays for it. But if you are on a free account and or if you just want Canvas access, we do have free for teacher accounts. So you can even just Google Canvas free for teacher and see how to sign up there. So you can, if you don't have it provided through your district or school, you are welcome to sign up for a free account to use it. But in your courses, if you have a course, any course that you want to create, you can always go to the side menu. No matter if this is blank and you have nothing here, you can just go to that side menu and hit announcements. And then again, I created one earlier, but we're going to create a brand new one, and I'm going to hit plus announcements. Now I'm going to have to title that, and I like to or I might even say week of September 2nd through, is it 6th or 4th? I think so. Although the 2nd's Labor Day, so we're probably not going to be in school that day. And I might say, you know, week of September 3rd through 6th. And then I'm going to provide my students with maybe a short message and an agenda for the week. You could also do this daily. If you wanted to do it daily. One of the things I didn't even finish going through the first couple slides talking about agendas, but some of the things that you could do is if you're doing a daily agenda, you could have a station rotation perhaps with links to the digital stations, but just the schedule for the rest of the stations and the groups. You could have links to content, you know, homework resources, all of those different things that you can provide in those announcements. Also, within the slide deck, I have a link out to the Instructor Guides, the instructor announcement guides, as well as the student announcement guides. And I want to pause here because even though I have linked out directly, I meant to hit instructor, let me do that again. I have linked out directly to the guides for you so that, again, in addition to the recording of the webinar, you can also come in here and say, how do I add an announcement, edit one, all of the things that we're going to talk about how to do, you can see how to do them in the Canvas guides. And if you're not familiar with where those guides are located, in your Canvas instance on the left-hand side is the global navigation. There's always a help menu down here, and you should see search the Canvas guides. There are guides for all of our products, including our mobile guides. Of course, we're looking for Canvas specifically, and generally, you're probably looking for instructor guides. So everything that you ever wanted to know how to do in Canvas, you can see how to do it with screenshots and step-by-step directions. So it's super easy to follow. So those are always there for you if you need help remembering, or if you're trying to do something for the first time, those are always there for you. But we're going to, again, in the slide deck, I did link you out directly to the instructor guide. So we're going to go ahead and create an announcement, but I wanted to make sure you knew that resource was there. So as I have said, I went to announcements and added the plus announcement. Now I've titled my announcement, and I'm doing weekly announcements. So I like having that week there. So it's really easy for people to know that the announcement is for the upcoming week. And I have all of these tools, just like you have in most other, and most of them are, similar icons or the same icons as you have in other tools like Microsoft Word, Google Docs, where you're, editing, creating content in a word processor. So you have all of those tools there. So you can, bold things, you can change the font colors, you can center. So I'm going to center this right here. Have all the options here to format my content. So I'm going to start with, I'm going to go in and add an image, and I'm going to say, I'm going to go back. This is the embed image icon, and you can either add it by URL, or if you already have some images loaded into Canvas, it would let you look for the ones you've already loaded, and or you can just search for one. So I'm just going to search for an image that's like a welcome, although this isn't necessarily my welcome back to school week, but I'm just going to say welcome. And We can have alternate text if we need to, so that screen readers know will read or describe the image appropriately for those users who need a screen reader. You can actually resize it if you know what size you want it to be. And then I'm going to update and insert that image. So again, you can add images by files, you can add images by URL, you can add images just searching for them. I'm also going to go ahead and put in my agenda for the week. And you can do this in a variety of formats. I'm going to show you a couple different options. For one, I could just have a list. So I could have Monday, and then, underneath that, I might have a bulleted list of what the kids are going to do. So I might have assignment 1, assignment 2, group work, stations, and then I might have homework, read chapter 1. And then I could just continue on with the rest of the week. And then if I needed to link anything, I could do that. So let's just say that I had already created some assignments. I actually can go over here. I'll make sure my cursor's there. I can go over here and actually just drop that right in to my agenda as well. So it would link them right out to that if I needed it. If I had, let's say that I had some type of URL with activity, I'm just going to say it was a Quizlet set, although I also embed a Quizlet set here. Finds a URL for you. All right, so if this was my Quizlet set perhaps that I wanted to link in there, then I could even say, I could take that and link that. I know I'm going fast, so if you don't know how to do this, that's fine. We can revisit at another time, but just showing you options that in addition to just typing text, you can also link things in, whether it's stuff that is already in your course or whether it's an external URL or external resource. And I would just continue building out my weekly agenda there. So that's one option for format for your weekly agenda. Another option might be similar to what we saw Mary do, and that is have a table. And so with her, she had a table that had the day of the week, and it had the in-class assignments as well as the homework. And so that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to make this a table that has the day of the week, and I'm going to have in-class, at home. And I just want to format that a little bit. And then I'm going to, for each day, so on and so forth. And then I can say what they're going to do. And I can have it in a bulleted list or not. Same way that I did before. And continue building out that table, that agenda. So all of this would be super helpful to students as they knew what they were going to do as they came into class each day, and or if they missed class, they would know what they had missed. I also love thinking about perhaps adding a personal element to announcements. So within your Canvas course, you also, on any place you have the rich content editor, you have this tool. It's record and upload media. And you can actually create a little video. So I can say, I'm going to start recording. So welcome to week 2. I had a really great week with you last week. I wanted to make sure that you were all working on your projects and that you had selected your groups and you had run your topics by me. We will have conferences on Friday, so be prepared to discuss the progress you've made and any stumbling blocks that you may have hit, and come prepared with at least 2 questions for me during our conference. All right, so I could save that and then embed that video directly into my my announcement as well. So I have all of these different options. Let's say I'm going to take that out because I've got the welcome video. But I've got all those different options for formatting for my agenda. If I had more than one course embedded within the same course, or more than one class, so let's say that I had first, second, and third period and they were all rolled into one Canvas course. Some districts choose to roll them all into one. Some districts and schools choose to keep them separate. So that's just dependent on the setup that was selected. But if you had more than one class all in one Canvas course, then you could choose to post an announcement to specific sections or to all sections. That's really helpful if you get off calendar because of field trips or assemblies or pep rallies. So it's really helpful to be able to post if you needed to modify the agenda just a tad for one class, you could do that. You also can choose a file if you need to attach a file. And you can delay posting. This is really helpful, especially if you are, if your students know that you're going to post an agenda every Monday morning. And so you want to go ahead and create that on Friday during planning, or you want to create it if you're, a weekend warrior worker and you're creating it during the weekend, but you don't want to post it till Monday morning, then you can delay that posting until that particular week. I mean, you can work ahead as far ahead as you need to or want to. Anyone who's familiar with NCVPS, North Carolina Virtual Public School, you know that generally they have a daily announcement. And so a lot of times those were created and just, during the weekend and scheduled ahead, maybe modified and edited just a little bit to meet individual student needs or the group to meet all the student needs. As each day, however, you could do a skeleton announcement during the weekend and then make those updates each day as needed. But you can delay posting. You can allow users to comment if you want the students to comment back. Let's say that you want them to say, I got it. They have to comment and tell you that they read it, or you put, a joke, or you put something in there just to say, hey, I want to make sure that I know you read this announcement, so I want you to comment back to me. That's an expectation and a practice you set up for your students, and you could allow them to comment. You also could select any of these other options, including allow liking. But when you're ready, I'm going to take off the delay posting because I want this to actually post now. Then I'm going to hit save. And that announcement would then be posted in my course. Now, one thing that I want to show you is that I have already kind of built out some modules. So I had my course homepage. I'm on home. I had my course homepage set to course modules. But if you're just getting started and you don't have modules, you don't have a front page or anything like this, you can actually just hit course activity stream is the way that you want your homepage to display. And if you do that, then you're going to see that the most recent announcement is showing here, right? And I'm going to show you how I got that to show on the top of each homepage. But then you also will see these are the things that have been done in the class. And if it was just announcements, then it would just show those announcements. Now, no matter which, so again, that was when I went to, to choose homepage to get that look. It was course activity stream. I'm going to go back to my course modules as my homepage just because I like that. And again, you still see that most recent announcement at the top. That's a course setting that I have to adjust. I have to make in each of my courses. So under your course settings, this is your global navigation that applies to all of Canvas. This is your course navigation. So under settings, you will go to, just scroll down the bottom of the page and hit more options, and you see that this is selected. It's not selected by default, so I had to select it to show recent announcements on course homepage, and then I can decide how many announcements I want to show. I'll show you the difference because we have 2 announcements in here. If I wanted to have it show the last 2 announcements, then it would show the last 2. So students would see if I were using my announcements again for daily agendas or weekly agendas, excuse me, they would see the last 2 days or last 2 weeks. It's up to you if you want to have those announcements displayed on the homepage. Not everyone does, but if you do, you can make a selection of how many you want it to show. If you decide not to have your announcements show on your course homepage, then it's just real important to make sure that students know to navigate to announcements where they can see all of those announcements. Before I talk about calendar, are there any questions about announcements or agendas or homepage that I can answer?
So, Christy, we did have one kind of question that I thought would be good, and that is, why would it be important to do announcements? So, what are some of the benefits of creating announcements?
So you can certainly do an agenda in another format. It could be as a page within a module. It could be, that's probably the best alternative other than an announcement. One of the reasons I like it as an announcement is because it's going to, pop up, and for the kids, especially if you have it set to where it's the first thing at the top of your homepage, so they're going to see it readily. Whereas if it was, an agenda down within the module, it might not be as noticeable. Also, honestly, this was I thought a very good way that if you were not doing anything else in Canvas, brand new, it's a very, very easy way to use to get started, right? You could just create those agendas as announcements. Also, individual users have the opportunity to set notification preferences. And so the notification preference can be set for announcements that's maybe different than other things, but users can set to get an email right away, or they could get one daily or weekly or never, but they can get announcement notifications right away. So those can come in email as well, or any other notification method that they choose to add into their account. So to me, it's just a really good way of hey, just a reminder. The students wouldn't have to dig down, because when you build a full course, very often, there's a lot of content. And so it's just a really easy way to notify or to alert students to what's upcoming, for parents to be able to see what's upcoming, because they can get announcements as well if they're parent observers, without having to dig down into the content of the course.
Great. Thank you, Christy. So we had a couple more questions come in. So
Yeah.
One wanted to know, they're not in her district, they're not allowed to use Remind. So they were wondering, is there a way that Canvas can send announcements or push notifications via to their phones? And so I know there's the Canvas mobile app, but is there an actual text feature?
And there is, except that it's different than Remind. Well, I guess it's similar. Parents or students would have to actually add their cell phone numbers themselves. So they go to their account settings, and then I can add a contact method, and notice I can add my cell phone number there. Y'all call me. And it'll send me, I can register that SMS. It's going to send me a verification code. And once it sends me that verification code, I will put it in, because I want to show you what it does. I don't have it yet, so I'm just going to pretend that I did. And then once I've added my cell phone and done the verification, obviously, then I'm going to go to notifications here, and notice that I can decide, do I want to get a text when there's a due date or not? So it's going to have some things defaulted. Notice announcement is not, there's that code. The announcement is not defaulted on, but I could turn that on. So that's, just a little education for parents and students to say, hey, You can add a cell phone and you can add that announcement. Now, it's always important when you're talking about cell phones with students to make sure they know that your district or school does not pay their cell phone bill. And if they don't have unlimited text, that you can't make that decision for them. But definitely, they have the option to be texted about all of these things just by turning that on.
Right.
Very good question.
And one more question. Under that more options, under the course settings, there was a hide grade distribution graph from students. And we had a question about how will that show up to students if I don't mark this?
So they would be able to see the grade distributions for an assignment for for a specific assignment.
Okay. So that by default they can?
By default, that's on, yes.
Okay. But they can't see specific. It just gives a trend. It doesn't give specific, like Johnny made us 62.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Just trends. So let them see, kind of they can compare themselves to the group, basically. Right. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But not individual students, no.
Right. Just wanted to clarify that for that person. Great question. That's it for now.
Yeah, great question. Okay, thank you. All right. Well, so hopefully, you definitely, regardless how you decide to display your agenda, I do think it's important to include agendas. So whether you do that on your homepage or whether you do that as an announcement or whether you do it as a page embedded within a module, I do think it's important. Again, I decided to focus on it as announcements because I thought it was an easy way to get started. The other thing that I think was, if you've done nothing else, but you wanted to start using Canvas to start empowering those students and engaging your parents, is to utilize the calendar to just add shells, like skeletons of like your assignments, your events, your to-do items. And so this is a screenshot of a calendar. You can see how pretty it is. All the different calendars are color-coded, and students can see all of the assignments, discussions, events, things that they have for each of those courses by color code. Teachers have the calendar, students have a calendar, observers have a calendar, and you can choose which ones to select and have visible. So you don't have to have them all visible, or you can show them all. And it's really super easy to take an event as a teacher and just drag, or an assignment and drag it so that you can easily change that due date. Again, just like I did with announcements, all of the calendar guides are linked here for you. So if you need step-by-step directions on how to do any of these things, they're there for you. We're going to talk about, oops, I didn't mean to even click on that. We're going to talk about how to do a few things directly from the calendar, and then I'm going to show you how to add some things to the calendar from within your course as well. So everybody has a calendar. It's a global calendar, so it doesn't live on your course navigation. It lives on the global navigation. And this calendar is your calendar, but when you create something for the course, then other users can see it. So I'm going to show you this as a calendar. Notice that on this particular calendar, I have selected American history. This is the course I've been building in during the webinar, and then biology. I don't have any assignments right now for American history or biology showing for the current week. We did drop a few things onto the calendar during the last session, and so you got a few things that you're seeing that were already in the course that we've been working in. So I'm going to go back to that course just so you can see that. All right, so we have just a few things that are in this course, and they're going to be on that calendar. So once I have something on the calendar, it's really easy for me to move it. So let's say decide that I think the students need a little longer to work on their learning contracts, so I'm going to move that. By moving that, I'm going to show you how to create things too, but I'm just showing you quickly how easy it is to drag and drop. Once you have things on a calendar, it's so super easy to drag and drop them if you need to adjust the due date. Once you have an event or an assignment, or excuse me, once you have an assignment, excuse me, I should say, on the calendar. Then it also is in the grade book. It's on the student's calendar. It's on the student's to-do list. It's on the student's app. If they have reminders set up, they're getting those. It's in the syllabus, in the course syllabus. It's in the course. It's everywhere. Just even by creating a shell on the calendar. So I'm going to show you a few things that you can create. You can create an event. And so an event, and this is something I didn't show during the last session. Someone asked about duplicate assignments, and I didn't even show duplicate events. So when you go to event, you can do, say, if every Monday your students were turning in reading logs, then you could title that. You could have a date. If you needed time, you could do that. If you had a location, you could. You need to know which course it's in. And notice only the courses I had selected over on the right-hand side show up in the drop-down list for me. And then I can even go to more options under events, and that will allow me to duplicate it. And I can say I want to duplicate that event every week. And I want to say that I want to do it for, 36 occurrences. And then create that event. And now that event is on that calendar. It's not just on my calendar, but it's on the student's calendar as well. And I apologize, we are having just a little slowness this afternoon. But you'll see that if I go to each week now of my course, I've got turn in reading logs. That easy. Now, that's not an assignment to where students can turn it in there. That would be just a reminder, like an event. It might be study for tests. It might be student conferences. So let's say that I had student conferences every Friday. I might say this: we're going to do student conferences, and I'm going to do them every Friday. So I'm going to duplicate that, and I'm going to have it say I'm going to do it every week for 36 occurrences. And create that. And then that's going to put those student conferences on my calendar for the entire school year, although I probably needed to go in and adjust one or two because of holidays and things like that. So that's an event. An event doesn't give the students anything where they can turn anything in. It's just like saying, hey, this is something that we got to do. Or it could be an actual event. It could be a field trip. It could be, pep rally, it could be homecoming, it could be whatever you needed to put there. You also can create an assignment here, and this is like, even though you can jump out to more options and create the full-blown assignment, so you can have all of the directions and all the resources and all of the settings that you can do with an assignment. I'm just using this right now to set up a shell. So like a lot of times when I started out my school year, I would kind of map it out. And that's the way I like to think about this, is that I'm just giving them an idea of these are the things that are going to be due. These aren't your directions, although I can go in and edit those later. Right now, this is what's upcoming. So I might say that I'm just going to title it Assignment 1 for lack of creativity at this moment. And I'm going to decide when that's due. I'm going to go back to this week because I was working in this week. And I'm going to put it in the correct class. If I had different assignment groups, I could do that. I want to go ahead and publish it so they can see it, I do. If I don't want them to see it yet, I can leave it unpublished. But then I'm going to submit. Now, it was on the previous week, so I need to go back there. And you see that my assignment number 1 is on that calendar now. So if I needed to drag it, I could drag it and change that due date as well. In addition to events and assignments, I can create personal to-dos. So I might say collect journals. I might just need a reminder to myself that I need to collect journals on a specific date or time. And let's see. Oops, sorry. It didn't let me change my calendar there. I'm not sure why. Let me go there. I'm gonna have to figure out why that's not letting me do a to-do right this second. So or I can do a to-do. I'll show you that, but it's not letting me change calendar. So I'm gonna say I'll just go ahead and show you how to do it, although it's in a different course. So I'm going to collect journals on Friday, and I'm going to submit that. But that will allow you to have those personal to-dos. And again, I can come back with and revisit, but in the interest of time, I'm not going to. But you can see how that allows you to create events, allows you to create assignments, allows you to also create those personal to-dos. When I created those things, okay, so I created the turn-in reading logs, I created assignment 1, it's going to be, those things will also be in my course. So if I were to go to my syllabus of my course, you're going to see that assignment 1 and turn-in reading logs that I just put on the calendar. You see all those student conferences and reading logs. Those already get dropped into the course syllabus, which is really nice. Also, anytime that you're creating something directly in your course, so if I were to create an assignment here and I said week 1, assignment 1, and I know that this, I'm just real quickly showing you how this, my demonstration purposes here are not to really talk about how to create assignments. We'll do that on a future session. It's just to kind of show you how when you create an assignment from within the course as well, it also then populates to the calendar. So it works both ways. So if you create from the calendar, then that assignment goes into the course. If you create from the course, then that assignment goes into the calendar. And again, it's not just your calendar, it's also the student's calendar. So now you see that week 1 assignment 1 there on the calendar that I just created. I also want to show you that from within the course, in addition to being able to add assignments and events and to-do items, when you're in the course, you can also say, let's say that I wanted to make sure that my students looked at this page. This is just a page. This isn't an assignment. Let's say I have this built out with lots of tips for success and I want to make sure they read it. I'm going to go back when I'm in this edit mode of my page. So I'm going to go back to edit so I can show you where I hit that. Cancel. All right, so I'm going to go back to edit. So I'm in edit mode where I'm creating that content. I can also say add this to the to student to do and save that. Oh, sorry, I have to have a date and then have it saved. And now that's going to add a to do item for students. I can also do the same thing with discussions that are ungraded. Now, if it is a graded discussion, then that's automatically going to be in the to-do list and on the calendar because it's going to have a due date and it's an assignment. But if it's an ungraded discussion, you can also add it to the calendar and to-do list for students. So again, this isn't how to create a discussion. We'll do that next month. Just going to show you that when you do create one, that there's also a to-do here. So even if it doesn't have a due date, or excuse me, even if it's not graded, then you can have it being something that will populate onto that student calendar and to-do list. So I want to show you from a student perspective. I'm going to masquerade as my student. Now, masquerading as students is only an admin role or permission, so you won't be able to masquerade as students, but I'm going to show you from my students' perspective what I see, okay? So I'm the student and I see, the course homepage. I have a to-do list over here. I can view the course calendar here. So this is just showing me this course, right? So I can see all of the things that I have to do. Notice that it also, that syllabus just continued to populate for me. So I know I have all of those things. Anything that was an assignment that was graded shows up in the grades for me. Also, if you choose to let students see the assignments page, which we're going to talk about navigation next time, but those would be all in the assignments. So all of those different places, including when students log into Canvas, this is when they very first log in. When they very first log in, they see their dashboard. This is called the list view. Some districts and schools have this set to where this is automatically the default dashboard for students, although some have it set to where card view is the default. So you can work with students and help give them options and let them see preferences if it's not set as a default. But when it's set to card view, they can see all of their courses here, which I'm going to remove that color overlay to get that shading off. But when I want all of this, I can see my cards here, but I get to see my to-do items over on this side, and I also can see the things that are coming up. However, if I decide to do it as list view, then I can see this. It's just a really nice agenda already for me. So I can see, and it's color coded by courses. I can see what I need to do. When I finish something, I can check it off. If it's been graded, I would have a notification that it was graded. And so this is the list view for students on their dashboard. So it's really helpful. Any questions about calendar?
So we've had a lot of good questions. I think the ones about calendar have been answered mostly. I think what it is we've had a few questions asking specifically about using Canvas for littles, and also a couple of questions about Google Classroom versus Canvas. So I don't know if you want to talk about that. And then we also had a question about pairing codes. So.
Okay. I think that when I drop in chat, I can only do organizers and panelists. So if I drop this into chat for you all, can you post it to everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. That's Canvas Elementary Resources. This will show you tons and tons of examples of how you can use Canvas with little learners. It's really good if, I demonstrated for you all how I use the media recorder to record myself. Well, students can do that as well. So they can absolutely, I have no problem with Flipgrid. I think Flipgrid is a great tool, but you don't even have to have Flipgrid because they already have that in Canvas. They can record themselves in Canvas. If you're using it for station rotation, again, then they can just easily click on that. But there are tons and tons of resources here, videos, examples, and there are even some Commons courses, as well as some templates that you can get from Commons to drop right into your course and start using it right away. So there's a lot of different resources there. As well as I have another resource that I created called Moving from Google Classroom to Canvas, because we know, teachers love Google Classroom and it's a great place to get started, but, there definitely is a lot more that you can do with Canvas, especially in terms of personalizing, differentiating learning for your students, just really having a good organization and instructional design. So this resource has a couple blog posts for why a teacher specifically selected or chose to go with Canvas over Google Classroom. There's also a Google Classroom versus Canvas comparison chart, so you can see all the things that you can do in Canvas and Google Classroom. And when you go to the light bulb beside of Google Classroom, it actually tells you how to do it. So it just shows you something a little bit more about it, right? By the way, this resource says eSchool. Obviously, we're Power School. It's just where that teacher specifically was teaching, because it was a teacher that created that. The second section of this guide, everything that I know that you can do in Google Classroom, I showed you how to do in Canvas. So while I say there's a ton to do in Canvas that you can't do in Google Classroom, there's nothing that I know you can do in Google Classroom that you can't do in Canvas. And so basically the share something in Google Classroom would be like announcements in Canvas, right? Topics in Google Classroom would be like modules in Canvas. and you see all of these different options. So these are not professionally done. This was me sitting on my couch, but I do show you how, if you're doing something in Google Classroom, um, so I'm gonna turn it off. So I show you if you have to do something in Google Classroom, I show you then how you do it in Canvas as well. So those resources are there. And then there's just a ton of resources about how to add your Google Drive assignments to Canvas so that students get a copy just like they do in Google Classroom. And then some other things that you might be not, you might not know you can do with Google and Canvas. So there's some other good real videos there. These are like 2.5-minute videos. They're really nice to watch. So that resource is there for you also.
All right. Can you point
ahead.
out the one with the light bulbs one more time? Sorry.
Yeah, sure. Sorry.
That one.
Oops, I clicked on the wrong one. There we go. Oh, I already had it open, didn't I? Oh, no, sorry. I had to think about where it was, what I was looking for. I was looking for the Canvas Elementary. That's not what I was doing. Yeah, so on the light bulbs, it just like gives you an
Can you just
example.
post that link right in the chat and I'll post it for everybody.
Yeah, certainly. Yep, there you go.
And then if you want to talk just for a second about pairing codes.
Mm-hmm. So again, I said one of the things about using Canvas for blended learning, and one of the things, the most important things about blended learning, period, is the fact that you can really engage your parents. And so there are some resources here for you. There's a resource that shows you how to sign up for Canvas account as a parent. So when the parent, and not every single school and district allows parents to sign up, but almost all do. There's very few in the state that don't. But for those that do, parents just access Canvas. Generally there's like I could show you an example. Give me just 1 second. I'm going to show you something. This is what most districts have set up if they're allowing parents to have access. They have some type of splash page or something on the website that says if you're a student teacher, you can log in here, but parents, you log in here. Once they get there, then they click on they're a parent and it asks them to enter this information. Now, a student pairing code, it even gives them a link out. They can see this and it tells them how students can get pairing codes. This is a little lengthy, but there's also a guide right here for students. How do I generate a pairing code? Essentially, they just go to their account settings, and then on the right-hand side, it says pair with observer. So that's how the student gets the pairing code to give to their parents to then create their account. Teachers in most instances can also generate pairing codes, but I'm not going to go through that because not everybody can. It depends on how the district or school has your permission set up. So I don't want to go through that and confuse anybody that doesn't have that permission. But those are right here for you. Also, I mentioned the Canvas guides earlier. When you go to guides and Canvas guides, and there's also observer guides, and it tells them how to do it. So you can share that resource. Also, one of the easiest ways to do it is just to do it from the mobile device. And parents, there's parent app mobile guides as well. So there's an Android guide and an iOS guide, but it shows them how they can create an account on the app, which is essentially exactly the same. They just find their school, and then once they find their school, it asks them to enter the same information. I know we're almost out of time. Anything else before we wrap up?
No, I think we're doing good. One last round of questions. So we hopefully you guys will join us back in September when we talk about modules. And so one last question did pop in that Ashley's co-teaching a course and invited the other teacher to the course. Will she be able to post in the course as well?
Yeah, as long as she's got a teacher role, she'll be able to do everything that the first teacher can do.
All right. And so we're getting some awesome comments. And like I said, please give me about 5 business days to get the recording to you, as well as your CEU certificate and a copy of this presentation. And so we're excited, and thank you for joining us tonight. And I hope everyone stays safe. I know the weather is quickly deteriorating as I hear it outside my house.
All right. Thank you, everyone.